All right. Good evening. God bless you. We are ready to go. We are ready to step in this stuff we're about to step into tonight. I hope everybody's ready for this. This is going to be absolutely amazing. Welcome to the Grown Men Are Talking podcast. We are here tonight with our men ready to go into the paint hard. We ain't playing no games. We ain't holding back at all. It is what it is. We got to let it all hang out. Ain't nobody scared. Ain't nobody terrified. We came with our big boy pants on and we had to talk about the doggone thing. And so tonight we are ready to step into this. And I got my brothers here ready to go. I got Bishop Wilkinson on with us. Say hello to the people, man.
Hello, people.
Good. I think I got he won't turn his mic on, but we're gonna put him on stage anyway. I got Apostle Holmes in here tonight. Say hello to the people, man.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here tonight, I think.
It's always good to be here, man. It's always good to be seen, always good to be alive. All right, listen, I need those of you who are in here, please hit the like, hit the share button. Let's get some numbers up. We're trying to get as many people in here as we can tonight. Some of our brothers were not able to make it, and so that's all right. We got the 3 duos, and we're ready to some of our brothers are traveling. We got one brother traveling to Kenya. So we're praying that he will get back. Pastor Apostle Holmes just got back from London. I think that's where you were doing your incognito on whatever kind of James Bond mission you on, but we know that we're glad you made it back safely. You look tired, but you're gonna be all right.
Yeah, I'll actually be in Kenya in a couple weeks.
Wow. So you just don't stop. All right, so we have some guests on tonight. We have my wife is on, Lady Chris. We thank God for her. We got Pastor Yolanda Dancy on tonight. We thank God for her for showing up. Who's in the chat room? Please let us know you're here so we can. And today I think is Pastor Dancy's birthday. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Pastor!
Happy
Oh
birthday.
my goodness! we got Bishop Youngblood. We should bring Youngblood on the screen.
Youngblood need to come on, man.
Yeah, Youngblood, man. You got it, Youngblood, man. Send me your phone number. I'll send you the link. I can go into your inbox and send you the link. If you so daring, man, to jump on here, because this is where real men talk at. So I'm gonna go into I'm gonna try to send me your. Do I have your number, man? I think I got your number somewhere. But anyway, try to come on. If you can come on, bro, let me know, man of God. It would be nice to have you in this conversation. You got a beautiful marriage, man, and you've been around a while, so you might be able to help us out. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it tonight. I think I got his. Let me see. Let me check my phone right quick. All right, so listen. Let's get into it. I have a question for the panel, for the brothers tonight. We're going to start off right out the gate, and tonight we're going to be talking about how to divorce-proof your marriage. We're going to talk about, we understand that 70% of divorces are initiated by women, and although men are accused of not wanting to be married or stay married, that's not the case. Men typically would stay in the marriage longer than a woman. Women typically do divorce sooner for whatever the reasons are. I mean, we can kind of throw that around tonight, but I want to talk about the first question that I had, and I think it'd be a good place to start is, and I'll let Bishop Wilkerson start with this. I know it's kind of
why you put me on
because you got all that wisdom, man. So the first question I have is, why do men get married? Why do you think men get married? Not why they should. Don't give me the church thing.
No, I'm not giving you the church answer. Yeah,
why do you think men? Because you do know, why do you think we'll dig it out?
Yeah, I want to hear this one.
Why do you think men get married? Because I think the women want to, because I think people have a different reasons for it, and women think differently about marriage, of course, than we do. Mm-hmm. But why do men talk? What do you think it is, man?
I think men like that safe space, and I think men like companionship more than people give us credit for. And I think we get married because we want to have that one place where we can trust and be comfortable and have a level of peace. Those are just some of a few factors. I mean, outside, like you said, the whole biblical stance thing. But I think we are relational creatures more than we let on. I think. Y'all don't agree?
No, it's not agree or not agree. It's what you think.
Yeah, I believe that. I think we enjoy relationship. I think we enjoy consistency. I think we enjoy developing relationships again where there's trust, where there's peace, where there's a comfort level. I think when you find that, like I once heard someone say this in a session I was in, you'll never separate a man from the woman he trusts. And that's any woman he trusts in his life, in or out of marriage. Once a man trusts somebody, they're going to be a part of his life in some way, shape, or form.
Wow. Okay.
That's deep right there.
That is deep. All right, Apostle, what do you think, man? Why do you think men get married, man?
It depends on what age group you're asking. Are you asking the 20-year-old Terry?
We'll start there.
Are you asking the 40-year-old Terry? Or are you asking the 60-year-old Terry?
I'm asking all three of you guys. I know there's like a few of y'all inside you, like the Legion. I know, but
Legion, right? Yeah. We want the answers from Legion.
It's not. Well, I'm glad that's a Roman term to describe, the number of soldiers that was in that particular company or battalion. However, I think that's a question that has to be asked to different age groups because, when you're young, you marry for a
It's true.
particular reason. You know, at 35 or 40, that reason may be different. 50 and above, it's certainly going to be different. And so, you know, when you're younger, you marry because you know, you're in love with them. And, you know, when you're 30, you know, in your 30s, you love them and y'all are cool and you're friends, you know what I mean? And I think above that gets into what Bishop Wilkerson was talking about, because the older you get, the more you want that companionship. The more you want, you know, you should be figuring out that trust thing, you know, hopefully early, but a lot of times that doesn't come around early enough. And so that's why that statement that Bishop Wilk mentioned is so profound. And that's why it's so important to, you know, to be able to trust, you know what I mean? To have somebody you can trust, and that person should be your wife. So if that's your girl and you really trust her, like he said, man, nothing, you can't divide that. One can't divide that at all. So I think it depends on the age group. You know, you married when I was young, I was in love with somebody, you know, and, you know, later on it's a little different. You know, you're vibing together. But when you get older, man, I watch how a lot of our Caucasian brothers and sisters marry many times at older ages. And I think there's something to be said for that. But I think it depends on the age group, you know what I mean? Because when you get older, those things that were important at 20 are no longer as important.
So I agree with that. And the thing that I thought, again, what Bishop Wilkerson said, it was the trust factor, right? Because when I was in I first married in my early 20s, I was probably just like 20. And the first thing I thought about is, let me get that settled, like that part of my life settled. So it was a security thing, right? It was the one person that I trusted, right? Because we know we're men, like you said, you know, I think the misconception is that, and we kind of maybe is responsible for a little of this, but we put off this aura or this posture that we're strong, we can't be hurt, you know, we don't feel pain like that, but we are very emotionally sensitive, right? We don't want to be, I'm sure everybody is, but men typically really we're guarded because of what we've seen, what we experience. And so for us to actually marry someone, because I think we look at it differently, right? We look at marriages, like you said, safety space, you know, a woman you can trust, someone that you're giving your life to, someone you're supporting, taking care of, which is major for us, right? Because we think about providing. That woman you could provide for, and she won't run off with your money, she won't run off with your stuff, she won't leave you high and dry, and definitely don't cheat on you, right? Because that's the ultimate, the trust factor. So I think the reason why men get married is for everything that you gentlemen said, you know, and I think it means, like Apostle Holmes said, it depends on where you are in life, right? But I think at the end of the day, it all circles back to that. Like, that's the foundation, right? If you're in your 20s, okay, you're trying to build something, you're trying to start a life, right? So you want somebody you can trust. When you get around 40s and 50s and you're looking to get married again, now you're looking for companionship, someone to ride or die, someone to kind of spend time with, someone you like, someone you actually enjoy, right? I think you enjoy being with. Let me ask you guys a question. Do men typically want to is liking someone more important than loving someone for men?
I think so, because there are gonna be some times where, and I know it's a different phrase of the question. I think there are gonna be some times where you're not in love with them at all. You know what I mean, and vice versa. And so, it's funny that we kind of had this discussion today, and I think it's important that it's almost like you should marry your friend. You know what I mean? Your best friend, because that it just trumps over that love thing. So I think liking them is really important. I think that's definitely, that love, man, that's a commandment.
he don't wax biblical on it.
I'm sorry.
See, I have a different perspective, because I can't get to love unless I like.
Yeah, I think that's why I say I think that like is more important.
If
but
I don't like
know
you,
about that, Will.
I can't. I'm speaking for me.
Right.
It ain't gonna be no love if I don't like you. Like, it's just they go hand in hand for me.
Yeah, but the thing is that when you marry someone and you love them, or you're in love with them, because if we have those levels there, or degrees, there are days where you are not in love with them at all. And there are some days where you're not even sure that you do love them. And so that's where that foundation kind of kicks in, and maturity and all those things. Because if you're just going to base it on love, I'm sorry.
Boy, here we go. Don't be throwing the Bible at me.
If we're gonna base it just on love, man, that's not gonna cut it. Not that alone.
But I'm gonna go left and disagree. For me, it's like first. I have to genuinely like people for a relationship to even
I agree with you there.
Towards any kind of love. And if I get to the point where I love you, I mean, there may be levels to the love. There may be days when it's not on fire, or I'm not burning with passion, but it doesn't mean I don't love you. It just we are past the infatuation stage. Reality kicks in, life kicks in, and sometimes you have to reignite that fire because it's still there. I'm not gonna say I don't love you. It's just it's buried under a whole lot of things, especially for us. If we're gonna wax church, by the time ministries start coming in and you dealing with life and you dealing with your issues and people's issues, you could wake up and your relationship has taken a back seat to all that. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. It's been moved down the list, and you kind of got to get away and uncover that and reignite that.
Yeah, I think you have to. There may be a time where you have to reignite that because either the flame is out or it's too dim to even see.
You said the flame is out.
Yeah, man. So I really believe that you may marry someone because you're in love with them, but that that's, I don't want to say it's seasonal, but there are seasons, man, where it can be tested, and and not that you don't love them, but it may not be that love that you had for them when you initially married. And that's why I say there are different degrees, just like we teach. Y'all keep hitting me if I'm trying not to go Bible, but we teach the different levels or degrees of love. And so sometimes I think one can drop off. And that's why I think that friendship or like is really important. And just a caveat on that one statement, I think a lot of people get in trouble because they stop being friends. You know what I mean? They it's like something changes, and so once you stop being friends, once you stop being lovers, once you stop being able to just enjoy one another's company, man, you're in trouble.
Okay,
how you are lovered is going to change as you age as well.
That I said that when I first
no, but I'm But I'm talking about
getting married in the first place.
I'm talking about on a physical level. It ain't gonna be the same at 25 as it is at 50 and 60. I'm talking about an intimacy level. So how you love in terms of the physicality is going to be different, but the emotions can be constant.
Mm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So I want to back up a little bit because I really want to get into putting some foundation in place on how do I shore up. And the reason why I started with why do men get married, because I want us to unpack the different things that men need to have in place when they're considering marriage, right? Like, for instance, the culture, the mindset, the purpose of marriage, like, and so because you want to make sure that if you get married, you're getting married, and that's the intention, is not to get divorced. I think what happens oftentimes is that when people get married, they don't think about divorce unless you get to a certain age, right? Where you've been through divorce, you're like, okay, I need to start thinking about this a little differently because I know what divorce looks like, I know what it feels like, and I don't want no parts of that. So for me to take that risk, because I think when you've been through divorce, you're definitely more cautious, more apprehensive, you're more afraid, right? There's trepidation involved with that because especially if you lost a lot. So let's talk about what can we offer tonight as to once we decide, okay, I'm going to get married because I have purpose, I have trust, I want somebody I can be with, enjoy. You guys mentioned friendship, and what I keep hearing and all that is, if you can capitalize it, is partnership, right? It's like you want a real partner that you could do life with, right? And if that, whatever that looks like, children, business, ministry, whatever you're doing. But let's talk about putting those foundational blocks in place and in this conversation. So what is the first thing you think a man needs to think about when he is considering the idea of marriage, right? Because we talked about why, but what's the first thing he needs to think about when he's like, okay, I want to get married? What's the first thing he needs to think about outside of the woman?
Okay, go ahead.
I'll wait, man.
No, go ahead, man. Because I was gonna wax different for a little bit and turn back, because I think the big thing is it comes down to premarital choices. I think what's going to divorce-proof you the most and prepare you for it the most is your premarital choices and your premarital counseling and character and all this, knowing what you need that can evolve and change with you, where the mindset is and the character is. Because let's face it, once the storm hit New Orleans, it was too late to fix the levees. You had to let the storm run its course. And I think many times people are not prepared going into it, that when the storm hits, it's hard to recover. So as to what a man should be thinking about, a man should be thinking about his plan for his life, what he's going to be. And I know that sounds deep, but you ought to have some kind of mission statement or directive as to what you want to be and what type of woman would fit into that in each season. Whether it be sexual, whether it be your purpose, whatever seasons you can forecast as far as you can, you got to find somebody that you can see in those seasons that can adapt. Because if you get somebody that's set in their ways and they're not going to change, somebody said the word, you got to look at your core values and their core values and just kind of come to a place where you understand that we can evolve together. You know,
Okay.
and if you can't see that, um, because I'm just a believer, if you go into marriage and divorce is on the table, then you'll find a way to get there. So you got to go into it with somebody where you can say, when we make this decision now, let's make it, let's be serious, because divorce is not going to be on the table. Because I think once you put something on the table, people find a way to get there, and they'll use any excuse to get there. But if
Okay.
you take it off, it's non-negotiable.
Apostle.
Well, one of the first things I would have to offer for a man that's considering a marriage is for him to make sure he's got all the play out of him, all the hoe out of him.
To what? Wait. Did you say
all
the hoe?
playing,
The
all
hoe?
the hoeing, yeah. I would tell him to make sure he gets all of that out of him, you know, and because that's going to be tested. Um, so that's what I would offer. That's the first thing I would offer. The second thing I would offer is for him to be honest with himself. Go to if he's been through any type of relationship that dissolved, you know, especially if it was long term, I would offer him to speak to a therapist or somebody. To I think Bishop Wilk alluded to it. I would have him to speak to somebody to dig up all the dirt that they can, so he can know who he is. Because the truth of the matter is, just to go back a little bit, you know, on that trust thing, like you know, it's crazy how you can date someone for years, and all of a sudden, or even live with them for years, and then when you get married, it's like something changes. You know, there's a dynamic that changes. And I said that to say, you know, you can trust somebody for years and years, man, and marry that person, be it male or female, and that it's a different level of attack that's going to come against and test that trust that you have. So I would say to a man to like really be honest with yourself. Like if you're not ready to stop running around, you know, then stay single, bro. You know what I mean? Just because like a lot of dudes, you know, I say that because it's here today. And it's not here just on the outside, it's in the church. And a lot of dudes, they cool with it until they fiend, you know, they girl is out there rocking, you know, and then all of a sudden they hurt. And so I would offer them to really make sure, you know, they're good in that aspect. And I would also advise them to have some money stacked, you know what I mean? Like really be prepared financially as much as possible, you know. And nowadays, you know, like with my daughters, you know, I was doing background checks. and yeah, I'm serious, man. And I told my one daughter, I said, nah, you know, nah. And so, and that's comical, but you really, and it goes, I think Bishop Will kind of mentioned it, like you really and I think one of the sisters put it up there, that you got to be really honest with each other. And a lot of times before marriage, you'll go in and you'll hide stuff because you don't want them to know, not that you're trying to hide it, but you just don't want them to know that part, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is. And it's going to come up. And so you really got to be open and honest with each other, because you're not really going to know how loyal your love is, right? Until it's tested, until y'all get into that heated disagreement, you know. You really talking about the background, but you're really not, like, everything about the relationship is going to be tested. So you want to walk in as healthy and whole as you can.
And that's what counseling does. It helps you unpack some things
Right.
Yeah.
and redefine them so you can function on a relational level. I think that's what proper counseling does. It helps you kind of search through and see what kind of person you are. Because I don't think every man. I'm not going to generalize and say every man takes the path of being a hoe.
Mm-hmm.
Many do, but not all. There are some guys out there that's waiting to marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and so they don't need to shift that part of them. Just like there's some women like that, but I just think, as someone stated, understanding core values is key because everybody comes with some kind of baggage, and it just got to all fit in the same car, so you can get where you're going. Somebody said where. I listen. Y'all not gonna. I'm not gonna do that to brothers. I'm not gonna do that.
So
Hey, girl,
I'm
get
not-
off the page.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that to brothers.
all right, so
He
check it
said
out.
where?
So
I'm gonna give her a list.
so good. So what I heard was, and what I heard, I think that we all kind of can agree on is the core value comment, right? Establish within yourself what your core value is, right? If you think about marriage, like establish, okay,
Values, plural.
core
Whatever
values.
your core,
Yeah, core
plural.
values.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why you timing
Say-
out, man?
Because, man, to say that, to deal with core values, you can't deal with core values if they don't have that type of upbringing.
Well, hold up. So this is my point, right? This is where I'm going. I'm only talking from the man's perspective only. Before he even gets in, whoever the woman is, doesn't matter, right? I mean, it'll matter to him later, but at this stage of his life, he needs to have his core values.
Okay,
He needs to know exactly who he is, what his belief system is,
right.
Where he's going. He has to have an idea of the vision of his life, right? Because he has to know what he aspires to. Now the problem is with that is, and I'm not sure. Well, probably all of us probably realize this. We didn't know we were called the pastor until we were called the pastor, right? So and all of us know what kind of dynamic shifting that does to a marriage, to a family, to a man's, to our lives. So those are one of the kind of the blind spots, if you will, that men deal with, right? You're called to a certain divine assignment. Now that changes a lot, but my point is, as long as he has his faith base established, right? As long as he knows, at least has an idea of what he's doing, I think he sets himself up for success. Now, does that guarantee him? No. But my point is, he has to start with that. Also, you guys mentioned financial stability, right? He has to be able to have at least how he's going to make his money. He has to have enough money at some point. And now I didn't do this. I'm just saying, because I didn't do this. He has to have enough money saved up to make sure he can carry that kind of weight, right? So I agree with that. These are the things that he needs to think about before he even finds her, because I think those things will help him establish who she is. If I'm saying, it'll help him say, okay, so if she doesn't have, at least if she doesn't think this way, she can't. I don't care how fine she is, she can't be the one, because it won't work.
But that's where we get messed up, Sally, because when they pointed us toward marriage from the church perspective, and this is where I say the church culturally can be dangerous, we were directed that way simply to avoid sinning.
Absolutely. So
we didn't nobody mentored us or counseled us into these other things that we're talking about now.
That's right.
As far as saving money, making sure you're prepared, knowing your core values. It was just, you spending too much time with this person, y'all of age, y'all need to get married. So a lot of people got married wrong. They made the wrong choices because they got married for the wrong reason. You know, just not to sin, so they could have sex without repent. I know people in this age group now just get married so they can have sex without repenting, and they don't. A lot of them don't think about a lot of the things that you're mentioning now, which are very important.
Well, not to get off the beaten path, but the reality is that's why marriage is actually going down, because people are willing to satisfy.
Bishop, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking out of Cowboys cup.
Okay. That's okay.
You want to know what's in it? You want to know what's in it?
Where's my ego? No, we're good. We don't need to go. All right, let's stay on. So you're right. A lot of the reasons. I gotta keep you guys on track, man. A lot of the reasons that men get married and women, but it's because they're trying to avoid pregnancy. Because that's the thing. Yeah,
pregnancy or sex.
I'm like Alan.
No, they're gonna have. Listen. Let's not play games. They're gonna have sex, right? The whole taboo thing is you don't want to get caught, and getting caught is pregnancy, right?
Right.
Every young man's nightmare is, especially in church, is having to tell somebody that he got her pregnant because we were having sex. I mean, I don't care. So sex wasn't the thing. I know that was you want to have legal sex, right? That's what they kind of shoved down our throat and misquoting and eisegeting texts to talk about sex. But the reality is nobody wanted to have the baby out of wedlock because we saw what happened to the last couple who had to be out of wedlock.
I think I was one of the first, so I went through it for everybody. But back on point. This is one of the foundations, right? So let's talk about this. Let's talk about you talk about the core values, the reasons why you don't want to establishing financial stability, right? A job, secure a job, right? A career, which, and to your point, Apostle Holmes, you were talking about why Caucasians typically marry late. And one of the reasons because they make sure they got their careers off the ground before they get married.
Yeah.
And what they're finding out, a lot of those people who wait like that, they're having a harder time having children. So they have less children, and they have to do a whole lot of artificial inseminations, all kind of stuff, because it's just harder to have children when you're older. But I think that, and I don't know if that's the question. Do you think men should get married? People should get married younger or older? I think. You think people should get married before 35, or is it okay to go past 35? Like, when do you think a man should consider getting married, preparing for marriage?
I think whatever suits you.
Okay. What do you think, Holmes?
It's going to vary. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any particular age. As far as, when the two are of age, I don't think there's any particular age that you can say, well, this is the best time to get married, because one, there just may be some statistics on that, but that's going to probably vary, between cultures and stuff like that. And so that's I don't know if you can really make give an answer to something like that.
What do you think men need in marriage, out of marriage? What does a man need?
Is that a trick question?
No, we're gonna talk about it because I think most women think men need sex out of marriage only.
That's so far from the truth.
I know. So let's talk about it. So what do you think men need? What is okay, let's talk about the most important. What's in your estimate, what's the most important need a man has from a marriage?
Well, I think Wilt hit it on the head, when we started, and that's trust, man. Like, trust. I think that's the most important one of the most important things that a man needs. He needs that trust, or AKA that safe place, with you. I think that is.
Let's drill down. Let's drill down to that safe place. What do you mean? Like, give us some examples of what you mean by a safe place.
Oh man, a safe place is that's one example of a safe place is when you are vulnerable, to your wife. She doesn't weaponize that vulnerability later on, against you. So that's what I mean by that. I think that trust is that's to me that's the pinnacle. Because if you have big. That, you're golden, and that you don't know that you have the trust until you know that you have the trust.
Yeah, especially if you're just talking on a spiritual level. I mean, just people that really know how to guard and protect your humanity, as Holmes said. You don't want somebody that's going to weaponize your vulnerable moments or your insecure things. You may lean on their shoulders and say, and share. And you need somebody that knows how to affirm you and build you up in crisis times like that, and not tear you down. Maybe offer some kind of constructive criticism and not destructive. There's a lot of things that go along with being a safe space.
Yeah.
Depending on, it may be individualized based on where you are as a person and what you're trying to accomplish, but it ain't no safe space when you go. Somebody said, "What's that?"
Sis hit that one on the head as well, man.
I've worked with many men,
and a man needs to be needed.
Yeah, they need to be affirmed as a man. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
You don't make me feel like you don't need me, because I'm gonna act like you don't need me. Then I'm not. A man just don't want to be an accessory to marriage. They need to be part of the equation.
I heard someone say a while ago. I think it may have been a comedian or whatever it was. The lady said, women want kings. They want their man to be their king, but they don't want to be the queen. Or they want to be the queen, but they don't want the king. Because when you have that king, you have leadership. And with that king comes honor, respect, loyalty, all those different things. And I think some of the sisters were kind of hitting on that point. And to my sisters, we're just talking about what the men need tonight.
Yeah. You hit
that's all we're talking.
You hit the key phrase.
Yeah, we know how that
goes. Respect is key.
Respect
is key.
So that's go ahead.
When you tell a man you don't respect him, you telling him you don't love him.
You don't have to, and I'll take it a step further. Sometimes you don't have to say that you don't respect him. It's what you do.
Exactly.
Will show that you don't respect him.
And that you're telling him you don't love him when you treat him with disrespect.
So what I'm hearing, and I also echo that, is that to be able to be vulnerable, to be who you are, whether it is, if you have failures or you have areas where you're afraid, right? Because men, we get afraid, right? There's times when we're up against things that we have to deal with, and you want to be able to express that to your wife. So you need someone who can handle you in that space, and like you said, not weaponize it, but also see you as the man, right? Because once you, that's one of the fears that men have. I've noticed is that men, they don't want to show that side. I think we kind of lose that in the beginning. They don't want to show that side because then later on, you don't want, one, like you said, you don't want it to be weaponized against you. Two, you don't want to lose respect because you rather suffer in silence.
There you go.
To keep your respect.
There you go.
I mean, you will do almost anything to keep your respect. So if that means that you got to cry somewhere else, or that means that you got to cry privately because I don't trust you,
or or cry to somebody that you trust.
That's
To
well,
somebody
I was
This is
going
what
there.
I'm saying.
We're gonna talk about that next week, fellas.
You're not going to separate. You're not going to separate a man, and women need to hear me on this, from a woman that he trusts. You are not. Right. If he could trust her with all of who he is and a vulnerabilities, and she's walked through him with different seasons on a friend level or whatever. If it's fortunate enough, she'll end up being his wife. If not, she's gonna always be his friend. She's gonna always be somewhere in his life.
And I would also go ahead, Bishop.
Go ahead, Apostle.
I would also throw in there, you can't compete with him, because I think a lot of the challenges that happen in marriage is that someone's always trying to be the stronger one, right? That's what when we have a different of opinion, I'm gonna outdo you, I'm gonna out yell you, I'm gonna say some things to get up to kind of provoke you, to make you mad, because I gotta win this fight, right? I gotta win this argument. And that's when the weaponizing comes in. That's when, the things that you share in your vulnerable space, right? Things that you share in my weak moment, you now pick that up. And you weren't saying that when you were crying about right what happened last week.
Yeah. So
what women don't realize, and y'all need to hear this tonight, you don't get a second go at that.
All right, you preaching, Reverend.
Once you drop that ball and you put that out there, listen, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. He will love you. He will have sex with you. He will but you will not get to that man that way ever again. And let me tell you something. If he's one who is dealing with a lot of adversity and he's got a lot of challenges in his life, he gonna tell somebody.
But it won't be you.
It won't be you.
It won't be you.
Bishop Jake said this years ago. I never forgot this, man. And I don't know if he was doing a Manpower or something he was doing, but he said that men, when they don't trust you, they will only show you. He used a towel. I'm gonna take my hat off. But he used a towel and he put the towel over half his face. He said, you only see half of him. You only get half of that man. He said, because he gonna find somebody who he can show all of himself to.
Absolutely.
He said something like this: while you're making your home a hell, somebody's making their home a haven.
Your haven.
And that's the challenge, because once you bruise him, because we don't bounce back well.
We don't recover from that.
No, we don't bounce back well. And you be wondering, why can't I get to him? Why can't? Because you done said something. You done said something that you don't even respect what you said, and you don't even realize what you did. And he has got too much ego to even tell you what you did, because that side of him has now been cut off to you.
It's been cut off.
And that's what. So respect. And when you say respect, you say love. You say one that you can trust with your vulnerability, and she still sees you as a man, and you could tell the difference. You can tell. Right? So absolutely. If you lose respect for that man can tell when you don't, because you move different. You talk different. You refer to him differently. You even refer to him differently. Like, he knows at one time it was like, well, no, ask your father. Now it's like, you can go ahead, don't worry about it. You handle them different. Little stuff like that. Like, she once would ask you, can I buy this thing? Now you see she already bought it. Right? That's how the things that start shifting up in your marriage, where you knew you were respected. Like, she asked you what was for dinner, what you want for dinner. Now she don't even care what you want for dinner. And then when you don't like what she made for dinner, she's like, well, I didn't know.
Not even that. Well, if you don't want it, you go find you something else.
Exactly. So these are kind of the tail signs that we see when you lose respect. Okay, so we talked about number one, right? The number one thing men need from. What's the other thing that men need from marriage? I know we're gonna get to sex, but what else? What else?
Yeah, well, I mean that goes.
Do men need affection? Do
Men
men
all of
need
that.
men need
All of that.
affection.
All that.
Men need attention. Undivided attention. Men need friendship.
Bless you, Pastor.
Men need all of those things. It's crazy because we can mention so many different things, but we're simple creatures. I don't think a man is complicated. I told mine, I said, I just need
Your what?
2 things.
Oh, your wife.
Yeah, my wife, man. I just 2 things,
Okay.
and that's it.
All right. What's you go?
I can't feed me.
Okay.
And there you go. We know. I know what the.
Oh, we know
one
the
is. You ain't
second
got
one.
to say it.
Gotcha.
You ain't got to say it.
And that free friendship.
I need a. No, you added friendship.
And everything that goes along with that, and that's it, and that's that whole. To me, that's that whole makeup. You got to have that intimacy, but if the friendship or the respect is not there, that intimacy is gone. The sex life is gone. Like a lot of times, a man will completely lose. If a woman handles her husband wrong, his drive for her will be gone.
Yeah, it drops.
Like
yeah.
it will just be gone. And
Everybody.
And that's a very dangerous thing. And I know that can go both ways, but we're talking about the men.
Talk about the men.
Right.
Talking about the men tonight. And so we don't need a lot, man. Like we really don't. You respect us and love us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like respect us and love us. And every man doesn't have the same sex drive, whatever. Respect us, love us. I think we mentioned it earlier. Throw some affirmation in there. You know what I mean? If he's having a bad day, like learn him. Just like Jesus said, come unto me, right? Learn of me, right? Learn your husband. I know the Bible says to, dwell with your wife according to understanding, but you got to learn your husband so you know how to please him.
You got to be a soft landing space.
That's the whole cake right there. Learn him so you know what makes him tick, because what may have pleased him premarital, that's going to change over time. So it's almost like technology, where you got to keep pace with the not frequent changes, but the process.
Yeah, you got to be a soft landing space, because Apostles C hit it clear. Once certain things come out of your mouth, love is important, but trust is that once you lose that, as you all have alluded to, once you lose that, you've lost. When I can't trust you with my emotions, when I can't trust you even intimately, what if you have a rough day intimately? Whatever the case may be, things are going to happen in marriage. And once you come for me a certain way, I always used to tell people this for many years. Men are more sensitive than women think, and women are not as sensitive as we think. We are very sensitive creatures, and we're very easy, as Holmes said. We're not that hard. But when you break that, when you break that respect level, that kind of honor level, because let's face it, most men, if you're not in a pastoral capacity like us and you just a regular dude, not that we're not regular, you may not get honor anywhere else but in your house.
And if you're having a really messed up day, that should be the place, man, that should be your peace.
The place of peace. That's your place of peace.
Period, man.
We find honor as leaders. we walk in buildings and get honors, sometimes even when we don't want it. But from a regular person, dude's perspective, the only place you may find honor on the level that men need will be when you come home.
The wonderful thing about that, Bishop, is that at home, see, honor outside of home is has a lot to do with what you do, what you provide to that community, right? They honor because you're an apostle. They honor because you prophesy. They honor because they like the words you gave. But home honor should just be for you, not because you did anything, not because you, right? It's just you. And one of the things that I found is that honor for me, because I was always, I'm very clear about what people's expectations of us are in terms of our pastorate, our ministry. But the one thing I want from my wife at home is that she honors me. She honors Kali, period. Not the apostle, not the father, not all the other stuff, but she honors that guy. And because again, that's a sticking point for me. So when you talk about honor and respect, and I want to back up a little bit, because I want to talk about, one of you guys mentioned, I think you both might have mentioned, study, learn that man, take the time to pay attention to him. Like he is the one that you should be focused on, right? And there's a sense of pride that goes with a man when he knows his wife zeroes in on him, right? Like when he gets home, it's about him. Like she ain't falling all over, but it's about him, right? His food, his peace, where he's going to sleep, the TV, whatever it is, his routine is. Because I think what happens oftentimes, and now this may vary in various homes because of the work schedule, right? If he's not working, she's working, whatever the case is, she may be working too. She may get home later than him. But whatever that is, that mutual or that level of respect has to be prevalent and evident, right? You don't have to search for it. Right? You don't have to wonder about it. It's right in your face. So men need that, like that whole king idea, right? They want to be the queen, but they don't want the king. And the king has to be treated a certain way, because we're full of ego. We have egos, right? You got, one of the things that, and I want to ask you about significance, because I think it kind of centers around respect. But what's your thought about men needing significance? And let me make that clear. Significance is, in my definition, is that everything kind of evolves around him, right? In the home, right? Everything evolves. Now, he don't have to control everything. He don't have to, but he is considered in everything that goes on in the home. What he thinks, his core value, what he respects. What do you think about that level of significance? Do you think that's important to a man?
I think it's absolutely important. And I think that when you have a good man, and when you have a wife who makes him feel significant, if he's a good man, he's going to queen her every day. You know what I mean? There's nothing that he will not do. There's nothing that he will not get. There's no place that he will not go for her, and to her, because she kinged him up. She made him, like you said, man, we are, whether we even realize it or not, we're full of ego. Like God made man first. You know what I mean? And you understand what I'm saying? Like he made us first, and he said, hey, you take care of this. And so that gave us that authority. And so, which goes back to the respect thing, but that and the significant, man, they're in the same circle. You got to make him feel. I think one of the sisters, put it up there, like a man needs to be needed. He needs to feel like he's needed. And so when he comes home and you make everything about him, you're not gonna have to ask for much. We're talking about a good man.
Yeah. And he don't want to be nowhere but home.
Yeah, man.
But home. There you go.
You're not gonna have to ask too much from him. You won't get a sentence out your mouth, and he'll be getting it done.
That's right.
And I think the significance plays a part more so out. It plays a part in the house as well as outside as well, because what if he's out and you're around people that are more accomplished than you, and you still know how to honor your man and not make him feel like less than, even in greater company. You're not looking at him like, well, he's this or his church is this. Okay, then you should have married him.
Yeah,
because that's exactly how I respond.
That's
you
right.
Should have married, if that's what you wanted, you should have married somebody like that. You married me. You married me where I am. Now, like Hillary Clinton said, and the old joke they told when her and Bill pulled up to a gas station, and her old husband ex-boyfriend was pumping gas, and Bill said, "See, if you'd have married him, you'd be married to a gas station attendant." She said, "No, he'd be president and you be a gas station attendant." You know what I'm saying? So the right person can pull that out of you, and no matter what kind of crowd or space you're in, they know how to make you feel significant, respected, and honored, and you do the same to them.
And you know what's crazy about that? Other men can pick up on that.
They absolutely can.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you this. My wife and I, Bishop Williams, I think he probably the first time he met my wife, and we went to he had a pour in his home in Florida. We flew out there, and we're in the meeting, and he's prophesying, he's speaking. My wife and I together, and later on, him and I had a conversation, and he says, "Your wife looks to you for leadership." Like, he could tell just by her demeanor, and I didn't even realize it, but when he said something, she would look at me to see if I agreed.
That's important, Doc.
If it was like, and she constantly does that, right? And it's not something that we didn't have a conversation about it. That's just he said she looks to you for for leadership, and he picked up on that. And I know that we could tell when a woman don't respect her man.
Yeah, right? Don't dismiss me because we're in greater company.
Yeah, it's just the way that she moves with him. It's how she refers to him. The look in her eye. Women don't realize that's why oftentimes a man, when he realizes that you don't respect him, you think you can disrespect that man because you don't respect him.
Right.
But if you hold him in high regard, then he's going to think twice about, how he moves with you, right? And it really has to do with how she respects him. And I think a lot of our women, this is one of the reasons why I think it's important as we talk about this, especially in the church, because there's a whole lot of idolization going on. People idolizing these preachers. And I tell women in our church all the time, please don't ever go home and say, Pastor Chris said this. You don't do what I said. Don't you do that to me. Don't do that to me.
Because you become the other man.
That's right. I said, don't you do it. That man, he is the priest of your home. That is listen. That's it. Do not.
Absolutely.
He is the authority in your home.
Some women will do that.
They'll do that
out
of spite.
Yeah. And then the man come to the church and he can't receive you because you the other man.
That's right.
She always coming home after sad.
I tell him quick. I'll say, listen, if that man asks you to stay home, you stay home.
Yeah.
Because we do not want any trouble. He is. Don't make him my enemy. And I think that you're right. Some women do that in spite, but that's when they're already very toxic. They've already lost sight of what they're supposed to be. And I think they don't really understand what men need, how men move. So, and again, maybe they don't care, which I think is even more frightening. It's a more frightening problem. So what else do men need? I know that Apostle alluded to sex, because I don't think this gets on a list. I think it kind of becomes one of those taboo things, but it's not for men it's a little different. And we talked about this I think a couple weeks ago, but for men it's a little different when it comes to sex. It's not like, well, we're just so horny we got to have it. No, there's a physical need that men have because we are seed bearers. Mm-hmm. And because we're seed bearers, the release is important, right? Women typically, they can turn off, they can turn off, turn on, whatever. I don't know. I'm not a woman, so I don't know how that really gets down with them. But I know men, if it doesn't happen, he'll have it in his dreams, right? Because he's gonna release that seed. I mean, that's just how it goes. Like, he'll have a dream, right? Boom, it's gonna get released, because that's how we're wired. And so, and again, I know women weaponize sex.
They do,
right? They don't really understand. And Paul talks about this. I know we got to go to the Bible because that's a lot of our foundation. But Paul talks about this. Do not hold yourself from your husband, right? You may call impotence. Do not do that. That is like a commandment, because you can cause problems in your marriage if you do that. And again, I think women typically will do that thinking it's cute. Thinking, well, what you gonna do? Well, you don't want that kind of pain.
Yeah. Right? You don't want to know what I'm gonna do.
You don't want that kind of pain. You don't want that kind of hurt. And because it's really dangerous. But again, let's talk about that for a few moments, because we talk about affection, because I think men typically don't want to express affection, right? And because it seems like a weak thing, right? It seems like, well, you just, I was raised, and I'm gonna tell you, this is probably some of the problems. So I was raised that if you show a woman your affection, she'll stop respecting you. You almost got to always act like you don't want her. You don't want, you don't want the hugs, you don't want the touches. You should leave it to where she's always hugging on you or coming after you. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Because that's still very it's very prevalent in our culture.
What's that question?
The question is, do you think men need affection, or men should not express their affection toward their women?
I think I'm gonna be honest. For me, it worked in seasons, and why I say that, because coming up in an athletic background, once we got old enough to date, like, your opponents studied everything, and if they saw you was lovey-dovey with your girl, I'm telling you, you played football. Some of the stuff that will come out of people's mouth on the field to get you off your game. So we almost had to walk around guarded, like, I can't act like this around you, because I can't let them know like we in love like this, because then they're gonna know how to get to your psyche. Somebody on the field gonna say something I experienced that in high school, in college. It's the same game, man. It can become a source of vulnerability for you. So you're right, we did hold that in. And in Holmes, even from the soldier perspective, even the Bible said, no man that goes in war entangles himself with other affairs, because you won't be able to focus. I was watching one show on TV, I forgot the movie it was, where the men were going out to war, and one wife was crying, and the other wife just said, don't do that. Because if he sees you crying, you're going to already mess his head up. Yeah. We're supposed to clap and act like they're going to come back in victory, even if we think they're not. Because otherwise, You just created a vulnerable spot in him because all he sees is his wife falling out because he's marching out to battle. They don't realize the role they play in really pushing us. Man, we could be playing ball, even street ball, just playing at the court. Let chicks come out and start watching us. The game went to another level.
Yeah.
It went to another level.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, men, men both need affection. I think this question goes back to one of the earlier questions, so it's kind of in that same family as far as things you should know. You need to know whether or not you're marrying an affectionate person.
Right.
Because if one is affectionate and the other is not, and that's not discussed, or if it's discussed but not really understood, because when you're young, you get all this information thrown at you, and
Right.
you're like, yeah, but then you walk it out, and it's tough. It's painful. So you need to know how each other one is with affection, how one, because like so many things can come into play here, man. It's like their upbringing, your upbringing. Bishop Wilk mentioned sports, but something like my father, he was not an affectionate person at all. He loved us. He took care of us. He taught us how to play baseball. He ran with us. All those different things. But he was not an affectionate person.
Right. Not mine either. Not to me, but to my sisters, he was.
Well, same here. To my sister, man, he treated her like a queen. But all of that can come into play as far as, should we be, is one question. Are we or are we not is a whole other question that needs to be answered, because the Bible tells us to be kindly, affectionate, one towards another. So we're supposed to be that. We're supposed to outdo one another in love. We're supposed to be that way that Bishop Wilk mentioned, that one person that he can trust, because wherever the reason Samson lost his life was because he trusted Delilah. Trusted the wrong one. Nevertheless, he trusted her.
Lay that head on that lap.
He told her his secrets. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and yes, men need affection. Yes, men need to give affection. I think that's that's a question that can be put out to both, because we should be affectionate. And if you don't know affection, some people don't know affection. They don't know what affection is. Some people is like they don't think you love them until you are verbally abusing them.
Yeah,
so
right.
This can go in a completely different direction, and that's why before you get married, I believe there should be some in-depth counseling.
Yes.
Where certain questions are asked to see, one, where your head is, two, what your definition of love is.
Right.
Or if you even have a definition of it, you know what I mean? And what your core values are, things that we talked about. And I think that if we do those things, and if they stay in place, if it's counseling or, premarital counseling, not some 2-session, but no, let's dig in and see what went on in your life and what's going on in your head. I think that a lot of issues would be non-issues.
Yeah, I agree.
Couple things, and we're going to wrap it up. So let's talk about violence, conflict resolution. I want to talk about this because it is definitely one of the challenges that we're having in our marriages. We don't talk about that often in church, especially around church people. But there's a lot of physical abuse, and there's a lot of and it could be physical, verbal, mental abuse. And so let's talk a little bit about, what do you think a family or a man can do, especially a man who has anger issues, right? Who has challenges with, his temper, because that's something that a lot of men deal with. Like we raising a generation now where there's a lot of angry men. They're just angry, man. They mad at everybody. They mad at their father. They mad at everybody. And I want us to give some kind of, because I think some of the women don't really understand the signs. They'll see the sign. They'll see the red flags because he cussed out somebody. He beat his last baby mama up, whatever the case was.
And that's
But let's give some address to that conflict resolution. What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
I think when you see somebody like that with red flags, as Holmes was saying, first of all, they shouldn't be no husband. Like, that shouldn't go unchecked going into the marriage. If you see someone with unresolved anger issues and misplaced anger issues, see, they gotta stop trying to be Captain Saver in. You know what I'm saying? That's what a lot of women are. They try to play the role of, I can save him. I can save him from himself. I can save him from his issues. You cannot. And then when those issues play out in the marriage, now you want to say he ain't squat. Well, you shouldn't have thought that you can save him with all those unresolved and unhealed issues. And now you have to deal with the consequences of that. And so you should get counseling. You should let somebody professionally unpack that and help that man heal, so he can come to the table with the tools to be able to deal with his anger and not take it out on you. Because all conflict, all conversations is not negative. You know what I'm saying? Or some conflict resolution has to take place, but some people don't have the tools to work through that. So that needs to take place before they become a husband and before the damage is done.
Another thing, to caveat on that, like, every disagreement doesn't have to turn into conflict. I mean, communication 101, there's good conflict and bad conflict. Conflict is necessary. We know that. But first of all, if a man is, this is why fathers are so important, for both sons and daughters, because a father should let his sons know you don't beat on no woman. That's number one, and let his daughters know you don't let no man beat on you. You step, you walk. When it comes to conflict resolution, I think that we have to get to a place where our young people know, and people know how to identify red flags. Because and this is where that background comes into play as well. I think I heard Creflo Dollar say, you probably want to test someone's patience before you get married to see how they respond, when they get angry, and so you really want to be in a situation where you know how a person reacts when they're angry, and you shouldn't make them angry, but these things are things that should be drawn out in counseling, and I think that's why I think counseling should be a deep dive, and I think that's something that you both should agree to and shouldn't have a problem agreeing to, because a lot of times, once again, if a dude has an anger issue, he's gonna hide that stuff. That's the dude that's gonna wine and dine you for real.
Yep, go all out
until he gets you out of your safe place.
There you go.
He gets you out of your safe place. Now you're outside of the perimeter. You're outside of the AO, outside of the green zone, and now he's going to show you his true colors, and you can't call for help.
You can't get help.
And so there you go. And some of our young ladies have been in the ring before, and the red flags. And sometimes they'll wind up with the same type of dude, again, that has the same issues. You need to talk to somebody, because now it's you. You
Yeah.
need counseling to find out what's going on within you that you keep attracting the same type of person.
Codependency.
But
It's codependency.
So dudes, like if you know you have if you really love your fiance or your girl and you think about marrying them and you know you have an anger issue, go get some therapy, go get some counseling so they can identify where that came from, right?
Right.
Root it up and then starve it out. And I think so it has to be a level of honesty within yourself.
Yeah. I agree. I agree that a man should have enough self-control, right? And he once he knows that he has an anger problem, and I think that's one of the things that we can help with a lot of these young men. When we pick up on that anger problem or that anger issue, it's like, listen, man, you need to get that resolved. You need to really get some help in that, find out, vet that, see what's going on in you, and get that healed. I'm done with this one. So men have to, because we know that life is what it is, right? Men have to state their claim. Men have to argue, not necessarily argue, but they have to speak up for themselves, right? You can't be someone that just let things go. How should men argue? How should men fight? Like what I mean by that, I know it's kind of a vague question, but what should be our posture when we have a problem? Like, how do we address it? Even though somebody, like your wife, offended you, or you're upset, how should you go about dealing with that? Because I think there's a certain way that men should address these issues.
Yeah, I think we should learn how to have the tools to come to the table, or at least alert our partner. What I would do personally, I would say this is a weakness for me. This is an area where I could absolutely go left in. In other words, walking around not talking, that's my playground. So my thing is, if we're gonna make it, at least, can you agree to be the one that will always keep the conversation going? Because I'll talk as long as you talking, but if you let me shut down, I'm that dude. And I'm not proud of that. I don't know if it's a defense mechanism or just being guarded, as we've talked about so much because of who we are. But if you keep the conversation going, I'm going to keep engaging. But shutting down on me, like, that's right up my alley. I don't have to talk, Doc. I can. Okay, you want to walk around for months and not talk? Watch me. Especially if I make an effort to resolve it and then that's rebutted. Or it's ignored, or it's not acknowledged. That my shutdown game is tight.
Why you sound like you proud of that?
I'm not. I'm not. It's not a badge of honor. But I that's something I would discuss with partners. Like, listen, here's where I'm weak. Here's where I need to grow, and here's where I need you to help me.
Okay.
Not be in that place, and can you handle that? Because I really need you to be that in that area. Because there's some areas I can be the initiator. I could carry the load, but in that area. Because people don't realize, as pastors, we deal with rejection so much, it becomes a mechanism, a survival mechanism to us. Who gets more rejected than us? with people that you pour into and love, and all of a sudden my season is up, or whatever. We have to deal with so much rejection. We have to build up walls, or we'll be falling apart like we crazy.
Yeah.
Holmes,
so repeat that question again.
So the question is, how should men fight? How should men, because you're gonna have to establish some order. You're going to have to put things back in place. You're going to have to address matters that causes disruption.
I would say this: men should fight in peace. One of the worst ways you can fight is when you're angry, because you don't have control, you know. But when you're at peace, then you can be technical. You know, you can be methodical and strategic. And I think that's one of the things that we all need to work on. One, I'm the type of person where I'll just hold stuff in, and it's like kind of like what Wilk was saying. I'll say something once, you know, you bring it up or bring something similar up, but I'll hold a lot in. I'll just carry it, you know, and that is so not healthy.
It's not.
You know, it's not healthy at all. And so I think we need to be able to learn to fight when we're calm. It's almost like, I remember my dad said one time, he said, "I didn't beat you when I was angry." He said, "Because I didn't want to hurt you. You know, you just wanted to discipline us, but not hurt us." He said, so he wouldn't, you know, we wouldn't get a beating, or as they say years ago, because you can't do any of that now, a spanking, when he was angry. And so I would say, you know, wait until you're calm and fight by keeping the main thing, even if you need to write stuff out point by point. You know, somebody has to be the referee. Like you have to be each other's referee, you know. I think, and that just, you know, came to my mind, where you say, hey, we're gonna keep the main thing. We're not gonna start mudslinging. We're not gonna start name calling. You know what I mean? We're not gonna be digging up Lazarus.
What I did 5 years ago.
Right. We're gonna keep the main thing. And I think that's how you should fight. And then once the fight is over, it's dead.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's done with. Once whether you walk away agreeing or agreeing to disagree, once y'all are done, it should be done. You know, and certainly, as the Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. You know, and I think that should be applied, you know, on a daily basis. And so fight peaceably. You know what I mean? And keep the main thing. And for a man, I would say, because a lot of times I'll avoid conflict. I'll just say I'm good. You know, I'm good. It's fine. You know, in order just to avoid that conflict. But that's not healthy either, because you're bottling stuff up. And so I would say, you know, to just like really fight in peace, fight with an objective. You know what I mean? Like Paul said, I'm just not swinging at the wind, but fight with an objective. And that objective should be to get the common ground, not necessarily to be right.
Right.
It should be to get peace, you know.
Right.
So you got to know why you're fighting. And then also some fights are not worth the fight. You know, it's not worth, and it doesn't mean you hold it in. It's just not worth it. So you got to pick your battles. You know, there's some things about each individual that are just not going to change, and you're not going to change them. You know, and so you really have to be wise. You know, in what is worth a tense conversation. You know, is it really worth it? You know, because if it's not worth it, then it's not worth your peace. You know, and so that can go in so many different levels. But if you're gonna fight with an objective. You know, fight to bring out the peace, fight to bring us back together again. You know, hey, that's what the fight should be about, to get us back. There's a disconnect, so we need to fight to get this connection back. You know, to get plugged back in. And I think if we do that, and keeping the main thing and having the same objective and the same mind, I think we won't have those months where we walk on weeks and days where we're walking around, everybody's shut down.
Exactly.
So, you know, you can say good morning and still be shut down.
Yeah.
You know, you can be going around the house and you're going about your routine, and both of y'all are shut down. and that's not healthy.
You guys said some really good stuff. One of the things that I want to, as you guys are talking, is kind of sparking some thought. Like, you talk about when you've been offended, that you can bottle that up or you can release it. And I think that was one of my issues, right? Like I would hold it in, but the reason why I would hold it in because I needed that ammunition because I was working on getting out of there. right. Yeah, because it was always for me, like once that environment took, I was like, okay, I'm okay, now I know you ain't the one. Like, so I need to build a case.
So it was transactional, huh?
It was right. I need to build a case, right? So, and again, it's cognitive dissonance, right? I'm a man of God, I'm a pastor, but I'm building a case, and I didn't realize I was building a case. This is kind of what I realized is afterwards. It was part of my dysfunction, right? So what I don't do now is I do not hold anything in, and one of the things I heard was set rules of engagement. Right? Yeah. These are the rules. If we're going to have a conversation about something, it's going to be about that.
Right.
Like you, Apostle said, keep the main thing the main thing. We're not going to bounce around to all these different things. Well, I don't, that right there bothers me. Well, you keep the microwave open. Like, we're not talking about the microwave.
Right.
So again, and you got to establish that when you're cool-headed, right? Because these are the rules. Because those things are easy to slip back in. And even sometimes me and my wife would talk about something and she'll be like, and if either one of us start going sideways, we both pull it. Wait a minute. We ain't talking about that right now. Right. And we say, that's it. We don't talk about that. The other thing we talk about is that when we do bring something up, like if I don't like, okay, you left the sock on the floor, right? You can't say to me, well, you left the sock on the floor too. No, we're talking about me and this sock, not about what you think about my socks. Right.
One sock at a time, huh?
Yeah. So right now, these are the rules of engagement. This is how we deal with a matter. Now, later on, if you feel like if it's really bothering you later on, because you had every opportunity to bring it up before I brought it up. Yeah. Apparently, it wasn't that important, and you only brought that up because I brought this up. Right. Because if it was really bothering, you had every opportunity to bring that up. So
I'm guilty of that, man. I'll hold stuff in, I'll hold it in. But man, if that window opens, man, and it's not like it's intentional. It's not like a gotcha, it's just it's you just hold stuff in. But then when they did that, that bell goes off or you hear something, you jump right in there.
I got 4 or 5 points. I used to tell my church knew this about me. That by the time I approach you with something, I'm not approaching you with just for that one thing. I done built, as Pastor Christie said, I done built the case against you. Like, I'm Perry Mason. There's no way out. Like, because I done built a case against you.
The other thing that I want to highlight is when you said it's over, it's over. I think that's very important. Because I think when it's time to have a conversation about things, we're having this conversation, and the conversation, and we talk about confrontation is healthy if it's used properly, right? I think we're talking about argument. The whole thing, reason we have a conflict, we have an issue, is because we're growing, right? Time is moving on. So we're at a crossroad. That's where confrontation happens, right? So let's figure out a way to work this out, because the thing is the thing. It's not us. There's a thing, whatever that thing is, if we can isolate that thing and not make it about you or me, and put that thing out in the room and deal with that thing, whether it's something I do or something you do, it's still a thing, right? Mm-hmm. And if we can identify the thing and find a way to either mitigate it or a way to live with it, because there's some things, my brothers, that we're just going to have to live with, right? We all come to terms. Like, there's something about all of us and about our wives that we're just gonna have to deal with. And now, again, you have to determine what that is. Now, you might be at the point there's some things you can't deal with, but there are some things it's inevitable. There's some things that will just bother you, and like Apostle Holmes says, it's just not worth keep talking about it, right? Because it's a contention, but it's not that big a deal. It's not really life changing. It's not really messing with me that much that it's bothering my function of living. And I call those things. This is a phrase I use oftentimes. Never go to battle where there's no spoil.
Yeah.
Right. You're not gonna get anything out of this, right? So what? She, put the cap back on the toothpaste, man. Like,
right. Is that a deal breaker?
Yeah. So you
go into marriage knowing you should go into marriage knowing what the deal breakers are. Like
that's right.
If you do this, this, and this, we don't even have to discuss it.
Yeah.
Like that's a deal breaker.
Yeah. But you leaving hair on the sink, that's not.
That ain't no deal breaker. You fall in the toilet because I lift the seat up. Come on, man. We ain't divorcing over
that. Just dry it off and come on.
Yeah. That's gonna be a good laugh for us both. So again, and I love what came out of this discussion, fellas, is that at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot that we need or that we look for in a marriage, right? We bring it like you can fix these things on a one hand. You can identify respect, food, sex, and give me peace. Honor, trust.
Know when to leave me alone. I don't want to be by myself, but I do want to be alone.
Now I want to ask a question
right.
because I want to ask something on that regard to the panel. Because when you talk about divorce proof in your marriage, do you all think that even in a marriage that you and your partner should have some time to yourself? Outside of just going to work and coming back home.
Yes.
Like, do you have to be your partner's best friend? Do you have to be your partner's everything? Well, can space be built in that? Because I'm a space guy. Like,
everybody's different, but everybody needs some space. Yeah. Everybody's gonna need some space. People are different. Couples are different, and as you grow together. You may grow together or you may grow together. You know what I mean? And so I think people are different, but I think at the same time, I think space is important. That's a very interesting question. But I think space is good. But I think that also has to be within the guardrails, because too much space is not healthy, just like too much time away sexually is not healthy, just like too much time away in and of itself is not healthy. And so I think it's good. I think Kylie, you mentioned it, like, you got to know when he needs his space. You got to know when she needs her space, but both of y'all need to know, like, hey, that's all this is just space, and we need we need to make sure we close the gap. That's right. Consistently.
Yeah. And I could be your person, but I can't be your girlfriend.
No, right. No, and again, I think, and just to give you my perspective is that there are times when I just want to be on the couch, watching TV by myself, right? You just in those space where you just want that. And when somebody studies you, when somebody's paying attention to you, they'll figure that out, right? Mm-hmm. They'll know the clues. And sometimes I can go in my garage and I'll start doing stuff in my garage, and that's my time. Right? I'll go in and clean up the garage and organize. My wife knows, okay, that's where he's at, and she'll just yell down, "Hey, babe, you good?" And I'll say, "Yeah, I'm good," and she gone her way. And same thing with her. I know that sometimes she needs her space. Like, I'll be somewhere and she'll be like, "Oh, I'm going upstairs." And I know exactly what that means. My wife is very affectionate, so when she's not, she intentionally will come and just plop on the couch and she's gonna be with me. Now we just hanging out. Sometimes she's like go upstairs and she's just doing her thing, right? And she likes that time. She got an earphone. She listens to a book. She listens to the word, whatever she's doing. And I think that becomes the fact of learning each other. And when you learn each other, you don't take that personal, right? When you learn each other, you don't have to hold each other hostage, right? Because you don't think I'm trying to get away from you. Why you don't want to be around me? No, that ain't the case, right? Now, the wonderful thing about I enjoy hanging out with my wife. So when I try to hang out, she's like my road dog. Like, let's go, babe, let's do it. And so, and sometimes she'll be like, no, babe, I'm good. She don't want to go. And listen, I never forget this one time. I think I was
You still feel that sting, huh?
I remember it. But let me tell you something. It was the first time I've ever felt like this. That's why I remember it. Like it all.
You had a dude, huh?
I never felt like this nowhere ever. Like I've never felt anywhere in my life, and this is how I know this is wonderful. I never felt that if my wife did not want to go, that it would be I really wanted her to go, and it wasn't to anywhere important, right? It was just like I'm going to New York. I'm going to take a ride, and she was like, I said, you want to go? She was like, no, I'm good. I said,
you don't want to go?
I really wanted her to go just to hang. It was nothing important, but I just wanted to hang out with her because I enjoy hanging out with her, right? I said that's different. That's different because I was kind of.
You still need to talk to somebody about that.
When they like that, Kyle, it make you go in the corner and think like, wait.
Because before I love being on the road by myself.
No.
Let me tell you something. I love being on the road by myself. I love taking rides. I'll get in the car and just drive. Love it. But with her to be like, no, I'm good. I'm going to hang out here. I'm like, okay. Really?
That was a long trip, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Down in New York by yourself in the convertible.
But
by yourself, man.
But what's great? What I really loved about it is that I actually loved the fact that was my reality. Like I was grateful that I had that reality that really mattered. You know what I'm saying? Like something bothered you, but it was good that it bothered me. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because I've never had that before. Like my boys, I'm like, let's take a ride. We jump in the car and go. But when she was like, no, I'm like. Because she's always wants to go with me. You know what I mean? She always wants to go. And I was like, okay.
What you mean? What you mean you good?
But that was actually a good sign for me to realize that this is. She said, "I'm sorry, babe."
He's still hurting, sis. He's still hurting.
He's still feeling that pain.
But it was good, brother. I want you to hear me. It was really good.
It was good that you was afflicted.
Yeah, it was good. I was afflicted. It was because I said it myself.
Before he was afflicted, he went astray.
I like this woman. Like that's how you know you like. I said I really like this woman because she didn't want to go, and I was like, holy smokes! Like okay, I got it. But that's good, and that's. I should have never told you guys that. But anyway,
no. Trust me, I can identify with that more than you know.
Yeah, so it's good because because again, you have to really know how to do these conflicts, because I think one of the things that we don't really work on is what do you do when you get into an argument. Like we don't really teach in this is how you handle these matters. This is how you look at these things so that you'll know that you won't have these, because sometimes you get into these. You ever get into a fight? I'm sure we all have, where this is getting out of hand, but you cannot reel it in, right? This is about to go too far, but you already on 10, and you see that this is blowing up, and you don't know how to pull back. You don't know how to say, oh, wait, this is too much. Stop talking. Everybody stop talking, right? Because you're about to say something that you can't take back. I never forget this, man. This is my wife and I first got engaged, and we got into an argument, right? It was an argument. We was heated. Now I think I was heated, and she had a ring on her finger, and I was getting ready to grab her hand and take that ring off. And let me tell you something, man. Now I come from a high temper background, like past, which I've gotten help for. I'm good. I don't have those issues. But I was getting ready to take that ring off her finger. We weren't fighting, but I was going to take that ring off her finger. And she looked at me and said, "Don't you do it." Let me tell you something, fellas. I'm going to tell you. She said, "Collie, don't you do it." She still got it on her finger. So, because at that moment, I knew that was the line.
That was the line. That was the deal breaker.
I knew that was the line. And there was times in my life that line didn't matter to me because I was looking for the line. Like I was that guy. Like I'm for all the smoke. But when you go through counseling and self-awareness and understanding your vulnerabilities and where you are and knowing that this is a dysfunction, then you know how to say, okay, you know what? You pull back. You know how to not cross that line. You know how to fight fair, because now at that point, all I'm doing is making a mess. It wasn't even that serious, right? All you're about to do is blow the whole thing up.
That's the bad part. A lot of big blow ups happen. They come out of things that weren't that serious in the first place.
Absolutely, and then you blow it all up, and you're like, you stupid for letting that go that far. And so, and most times you know that you're about to go, but when you realize, when you start getting control over your emotions, that's why I say often to men, you shouldn't be going back and forth with no woman. Like, stop that. You gotta listen. You gotta be stoic. Keep it calm. She's gonna go on 10, but you gotta learn how not to feed into it, and just calm that thing down. Pull everybody in. Everybody stop talking. Like you said, referee. Apostle said, you gotta referee it. We gotta referee both of us. We both saying things that are crazy. We don't need to go this far. Let's stop now. Let's just kill it now. Somebody's got, and I think the onus is on the men because we are more logical, right? We are more sober in our thinking in that regard, and we have to learn how to say, "Slow down. This is not worth it. This is not it." And I think men have to know that's their role. You know, a woman gonna talk, but you gotta let them know, I hear you. We're gonna work on this. Just give me some time. Let us work on that. Right now, this is not the time. We done got too far. We're too angry. We're blowing up. We're gonna make a mess. Let's just stop talking right now, and let's just go to our corners and let's get calm and let's table this for another moment. It's not that important. We can fix it later on. And I think once we understand that's our role, right? Because I think we're better for it, to be honest with you. I think we're the ones that logically can do it successfully as long as we can keep our emotions down. Right. And that's my thought. I think that's one of the advices we can give to men is to listen, man, make sure you got your emotions intact. Make sure you're not so sensitive. Make sure women say things that just poke you and you know, they could be insensitive sometimes. And some women can recover from a lot of that stuff that you cannot.
Quicker.
Yeah, they'll cry for a minute, man. But boy,
they can yell at you and fuss at you, and then be like, "Let's go eat." And I'll be like, "I'm not going to eat with you."
I remember one time my wife and I argument, and we were like, she stopped after it was over. You know what she said? She said, "I'm going. You want something to drink?"
Yeah, you sitting there
we're
like,
not fighting. We're not fighting.
That's reminiscent.
Right. We supposed to be still fighting.
Yeah, right. That's reminiscent of that scene in East Side High. You know, where the guy
you're going back too far for me.
No, it's not too far. Well, they were arguing, and the guy, once they finished arguing, said, "Hey, you know, let's go get something to eat."
Now. Yeah.
It's gotta be
Mr. Carter or East Side High.
East Side High.
Okay, East Side High.
East Side High.
The two guys are fighting, arguing.
Yeah, with
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, yes.
And the other guy, Benson. I don't know him as
yes.
Benson.
Yeah.
Know him as Benson.
Exactly. But that's the way it should be, and that is what happens when you keep the main thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you just once you deal with it, and sometimes you got to just listen. Somebody's got to have the cool head on, so to speak. But when it's over,
it's over.
It's over.
Let's go eat.
That's an ideal situation.
And I think
got to do better with that.
I think that's where we have to help men, because again, when a man when he gets out of control, it could be a whirlwind, man. It'd be a bull in a china shop. You know, he'd be a cannon trying to kill a mouse, right? I mean, it's just
right.
Yeah, it's just you got a lot going on with you, and you know that you can't handle that. Like men typically can't handle emotion like that. Women can, but men typically go all too far, and before you know it, you got a case. You got an ankle bracelet on, and you got restraining orders, and you got a whole problem going on with you, man. Once they take you down through there, it's hard to get out of that hole, right? Because once you get a case, once you abuse her, man, that's on your record, and now that's what you are, right? So
that's what you are.
That's what you are. Then the minute you even defend yourself, they don't care. You know, they'll bring that up. Like, man, he had a case. He hit his wife. You know, there was a fight, and you ain't got. She said you hit her. You hit her, right? It don't even matter, right? So you gotta tell men that they got to get themselves together in that. And I think it's incumbent upon men in our communities, if we know that a brother has a struggle in that, pull him to the come on, man. Come on. You know, you got to get yourself together on that. All right, fellas, that's all I got tonight. You guys, anything else you guys want to throw out here? I know it's late.
Holmes, I'm gonna pay you. I'm gonna start bringing in. If I get any lists, I'm gonna need some background checks. We need to do them on them too, right?
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, bro. Don't let them fool you, man. Man, listen, they got some records, boy.
So I'm gonna have to tap into your law enforcement.
That's a form of life, brother.
Listen,
wow,
you still got connections. You still got connections.
Yeah, I gotta save them though.
Well, it's easy to get background checks now, man. You can pay for background checks.
You can pay somebody $100 to do a background check.
Yeah, you can get background checks, man, on people.
Okay.
You know? Sometimes just ask around.
There you go, right? Go to the streets and do a background check. In church, all you gotta do is ask preachers.
All right,
like y'all said, both sides needs them. Both sides need to, you know.
Why do you think men are not getting married nowadays? Real quick.
I don't think there's much. I don't think there's the same value placed on marriage. You know, I think that it's people don't see a need for it if they're going to be with that one person. You know, so I think the value of marriage has gone down in the eyes of the younger generation, and it's not, you know, it's not harped on. So, and a lot they don't want any part of it.
Bishop T's son had a chart that he did at the I'm gonna try to find it because I had him send it to me, and it kind of explained that on this chart how that this generation we're in now, they want to have the family dynamic without the family ties. So they're having children and they're in their children's lives, but they're not marrying. I can't think of the generations right now, but it had the boomers, millennials, Generation X, Generation Y, and the influence of one generation to another. But I'm trying to remember if this generation now, they're having children. They're not getting married, as Holmes said. They don't see the value in marriage like we were taught in the, growing up.
Right.
Well, I find that there's one of the things I've heard men talk about. There's no upside for them. They don't get anything. They don't feel like they get anything out of it. Like you talk about the value.
Well, It's like you said, why go to battle if there's no spoil?
Yeah. Why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free, right?
Yeah.
It's something that you said too, Apostle Holmes. You said, and I wrote it down in my notes, but we kind of moved on past it. You said something about you can live together with someone, but once you marry them, it changes.
The
It's
dynamic
shifting.
changes.
Yeah, and the reality is, the statistics are that you are more likely to get divorced if you start off a relationship by living together.
It's true. That's a real statistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they say that it's dangerous for the marriage if you live together first. There's something that happens once you get married. Once you live together for a while, then you get married.
Right.
It tends to most times not work.
Not
I want to
work.
show you this chart right quick. So, because there's this whole notion, I want to try to give some hope to some of these women. They said there's not enough men out here. Right? How many times you guys heard that? There's not enough available men. There's not enough men out here to marry. That's not true. So I'm going to show you this stat, right? Because, and I'm going to let we're going to wrap it up with this. There is a statistic. This is where it is. Where's you guys at? Here we go. So right now you see that black women marry 27%, black men married 34%. This is our population. This is a black statistics database. They do a lot of stats, right? You see divorce, but this is the part I wanted to focus on. Never married. There's 49% of our women have never been married, and there's 51% of men who've never been married. So the point I'm making, and we're not talking about divorce, right? Because then you still have so there is enough men to marry the women in our community. Right? There's enough women, divorcees of men to marry these women. So numbers are very close, right? I mean, they're within 1 or 2 percentage points. And the reason why I want to raise this is because when we say I can't find men that want to get married, there are men that are available to get married. It's just that they don't want to get married. I think the reason why a lot of men don't want to get married is exactly what we said tonight, what you said, is that there's no upside, there's no value, right? There's like, what's the point, right? I mean, if and most of us have been, I guess, been told that marriage is really just to have sex legally, but it's more than that, right? It's a lot more, a lot of benefits to marriage that are probably intangibles, but eventually become tangible, that we as humans actually need, right? We're wired, designed to be companioned. Like you find, if you did any studies of men who are in prison, one of the worst thing in the world for a man to be in solitary confinement is to be by himself. They actually can lose their mind. Men lose their mind being isolated for long periods of time. So, and in fact, there's like Congress is even in session regarding this issue of isolation, segregation, the way they do these kind of these, because the men are losing their minds, man. They're kids and they're in these rooms by themselves. So we're made to be with someone, and I think we kind of force
it's not good for man to be alone.
Absolutely.
That's what God Himself said. It's not good. It's not good.
So I think that men again, because of all the things that happens in court, how they end up in these matters and how they reflect and how they're revered. Women typically don't know anything about it. They just don't understand much. And I hope that these kinds of talks will help them, give them insight. Because, and again, it's not going to be so he doesn't want me to. No, you've been trained to be as toxic as you are. You're going to need therapy, dear heart.
Yes.
To be able to, because you got to reverse all that junk that's been pushed inside of you all these years about men no good, they're all dogs, right? All these things all this negativity that you've heard about men. And you can say, well, now because you ain't got one, oh yeah, I love him, I'll feed, I'll cook. No, you won't. That's not something that's not something you just do. Like, you don't get up one day, right? You don't, all of a sudden now you're going to clean the house, cook and clean. If you ain't never did that, that's not something you just going to do.
You got to be a wife before you get wifed. You
better be wifey. You better be putting that work in before. Like, you better keep that regimen down before you hook up, because then you ain't going to be able to just wake up, because one morning you'll be like, I ain't doing none of that.
Right.
Right? Especially if he gets on your nerves. Especially if you got a bone to pick. Especially if you want to kind of make a point. because the wife still has to move and do what she's supposed to do in the house, even if she's not content or happy, whatever she needs. So anyway, because we do, right? We go to work, right? She don't cook, you go to work. She don't give you none, you go to work, right? She mad at you, what do? You still gotta go to work. There you have it. All right. So boom. That's it. Say what I said.
Yeah, we're gonna let you have the last word on that one.
Yep.
All right, gotta go. Love you, man.
All right, love you guys.
All right, I'm out.
Guys.
Have a good night.
everybody.
It's a good talk.
Good night.
All right. Good
Peace,
night.
and I'm out.
No doubt.